The meeting room on Galactic Council Station Omega-7 was huge. Ambassador Kang Dae-ho sat at the human section of the curved table. Around him sat representatives from 23 different alien species. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Dae-ho still felt surprised when he saw them. The Vorthak ambassador had 4 arms and skin like metal. The Netherian representative glowed softly with inner light. Her thoughts sometimes whispered at the edge of his mind. The Goliath delegate was 3 meters tall and could crush steel with his bare hands. Then there was Dae-ho. Average height, brown hair going gray at the edges, simple black diplomatic suit. He looked like what he was supposed to be, just another human trying to fit in with beings far more advanced than his species. The emergency session will now begin, announced Council Speaker Veltaran. His voice came from a translation device since his species communicated through color changes on their skin. Dae-ho checked his wrist device. The message indicator was dark. No word from Earth yet. He hoped it would stay that way. Today was supposed to be routine. We have received disturbing intelligence reports, Veltaran continued. The Ravager Horde has mobilized their full war fleet. They are moving toward the Outer Rim territories. A hologram appeared above the center table. It showed a 3-dimensional map of their galaxy sector. Red dots marked Ravager positions. They were moving like a disease spreading across healthy tissue. Dae-ho felt his chest tighten. 3 human colonies lay directly in the Ravager path. New Busan had 2 million people. Haven Colony housed another 1 million. New Seoul was smaller but held families who had worked for generations to build something beautiful there. How many ships? Asked the Goliath delegate. His voice was like rocks grinding together. Conservative estimates suggest 15,000 vessels, replied the Vorthak ambassador, including their fortress ships. Silence filled the room. Even these powerful species feared the Ravagers. The Horde had swept across galaxy sectors before. They took everything. They left nothing alive. Our combined fleets are already engaged in the Antares conflict, said the Netherian representative. Her mental voice touched everyone present. And the Helix Nebula situation requires constant patrol. We cannot withdraw forces without leaving other colonies vulnerable. Dae-ho raised his hand. Speaker Veltaran, humanity wishes to volunteer assistance. Several delegates turned to look at him. A few made sounds that might have been amusement. The Vorthak ambassador's metal face showed what could be sympathy. Ambassador Kang, Veltaran said gently, we appreciate Earth's offer. However, this situation requires military assets that humanity simply does not possess. Perhaps your people could assist with evacuation efforts? We have ships, Dae-ho said quietly. We have people willing to fight. Your transport vessels are well designed, agreed the Goliath delegate. Your engineering skills are impressive for such a young species. But the Ravagers have weapons that can crack planets. Your people have been part of this council for only 50 years. You lack the technology and experience for this kind of war. Dae-ho nodded as if accepting their judgment. Inside, part of him felt relieved. Another part felt something else entirely. Of course, he said, we understand our limitations. Earth will focus on evacuation and humanitarian aid. A wise choice, said Veltaran. The Council appreciates humanity's willingness to help within appropriate bounds. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. Battle plans were discussed. Fleet positions were analyzed. Evacuation schedules were created. Through it all, Dae-ho sat quietly and took notes like a good junior partner should. When the session ended, delegates filed out in small groups. Several nodded respectfully to Dae-ho as they passed. The Netherian representative even touched his shoulder with one glowing hand. Your people have good hearts, Ambassador Kang, she said with her mind voice. That matters more than weapons sometimes. Thank you, Dae-ho replied. I hope you are right. When the room was empty, Dae-ho remained seated. He stared at the hologram that still showed Ravager positions creeping toward human space. After 10 minutes, he activated his personal communication device. The encryption was military grade. Much better than anything the Council knew humans possessed. Priority Channel 7, he said quietly. Authorization Kang Delta 779. The device hummed for 30 seconds. Then a voice answered. It was crisp and professional. This is Earth Command. Go ahead, Ambassador. The Council has declined our military assistance, Dae-ho reported. Ravager Horde confirmed moving toward Outer Rim. Estimated 15,000 vessels, including fortress ships. Human colonies are directly in their path. Understood. Assessment of Council military response. Insufficient. They are spread too thin. Current conflicts are tying up their best assets. They expect us to handle evacuations only. Copy that. Stand by for instruction update. Deho waited. Around him, the space station hummed with activity. Aliens hurried through corridors outside. Emergency preparations were already beginning throughout the sector. Ambassador, you are authorized to transmit Garden Protocol requests to Earth Command. Deho felt his heart speed up. Garden Protocol. He had hoped this day would never come. Confirmed. Transmitting Garden Protocol request now. He entered a complex code into his device. The message that went out was simple. Situation critical. Request Garden Protocol authorization. But Deho knew what it really meant. It meant 50 years of careful pretending might be about to end. The device stayed quiet for 5 minutes. Then it chimed with an incoming priority message. Garden Protocol approved, said the voice from Earth. Repeat. Garden Protocol is approved. Begin Phase 1 implementation immediately. Understood, Deho said. His voice sounded steady, but his hands were shaking slightly. Phase 1 implementation begins now. He closed the communication channel and sat back in his chair. For 50 years, humanity had played the role of peaceful newcomers. They had been helpful but not threatening, useful but not powerful. They had smiled and nodded and let other species treat them like junior partners. It had all been an act. Deho looked at the hologram one more time. The Ravagers would reach human space in 18 days. They expected to find defenseless colonies and transport ships trying to evacuate civilians. They were going to find something very different. He stood up and straightened his simple diplomatic suit. Time to send some more messages. The Council had made their decision about humanity's role in this war. Now Earth would make theirs. As he walked toward the door, Deho allowed himself a small smile. The Ravagers thought they were hunters moving toward easy prey. The Council thought they were sending sheep to face wolves. Nobody knew that Earth had been preparing for this exact moment for over 200 years. In 18 days, the galaxy would finally see what humans really were when they stopped pretending to be harmless. Captain Kim Sora stood on the bridge of the transport ship Peaceful Dawn. Through the main viewing screen, she could see the planet New Busan below. It looked peaceful from space. Green continents and blue oceans. White clouds drifting slowly across the surface. It would not look peaceful much longer. Captain, we have received final evacuation orders from Earth Command, reported her communications officer, Ensign Lee Tae-ho. He was young but steady. Like all her crew, he had been chosen carefully. How many more civilians? Sora asked. 18,000 still waiting for transport. The other civilian ships are loading as fast as they can. Sora nodded. Her ship could carry 10,000 people if they packed them tight. Other human vessels in the system were doing the same. To outside observers, it looked like a desperate evacuation effort. Civilian transports trying to save as many lives as possible before the Ravagers arrived. That was exactly what it was supposed to look like. Captain, called Lieutenant Yoon Min-ho from the tactical station, I have movement on long-range sensors. Sora walked over to his station. Min-ho had been with her for 8 years. He was calm and professional. He also had reflexes that were impossible for a normal human. What do you see? 4 contacts. Ravager scout ships. They just dropped out of hyperspace at the system edge. Minho's voice was steady. He might have been reporting the weather. Time to intercept? 22 minutes at current speed. Sora felt the familiar calm that came during moments like this. Her heart rate stayed steady. Her breathing remained normal. The neural implant behind her right ear was already beginning to enhance her processing speed. Send a message to all civilian ships, she ordered. Tell them to continue loading procedures. Do not panic the evacuees. Yes, Captain. Sora activated her private command channel. Engineering, this is the captain. Engineering here, Captain Park. Chief Engineer Park Sung-min had been with her even longer than Min-ho. His official record showed him as a standard human engineer. His real record was classified at levels the Galactic Council did not know existed. How long to bring primary systems online? 6 minutes for full combat readiness, Captain. Understood. Begin startup sequence, but keep it quiet. Already started, Captain. We have been ready since we entered the system. Of course they had. Sora smiled slightly. Her crew knew their job. Captain, Minho reported. The Ravager scouts are accelerating. They have detected our ships. Any communication attempts? Negative. They are maintaining radio silence. That was normal Ravager behavior. They preferred to study their prey before making demands. Sora had fought Ravagers before. Not that anyone in the galaxy knew that. Captain, incoming transmission from Ravager vessels, Tejo announced. Put it on main screen. The viewing screen changed to show a Ravager commander. He looked like most of his species. Tall and thin with gray skin and too many teeth. Scars covered his face and neck. His eyes were the color of old blood. Human vessels, the Ravager said in broken galactic common tongue. You will prepare for boarding. We will inspect your cargo and passengers. You will not resist. Sora stepped forward so the Ravager could see her clearly. She wore a simple blue uniform with captain's insignia. She looked like what she was supposed to be. A civilian. Transport captain trying to save lives. This is Captain Kim Sora of the Human Transport. Vessel Peaceful Dawn, we are conducting emergency evacuation of civilians. We are not military vessels. The Ravager commander showed his teeth. All human ships are now property of the Ravager horde. You will lower shields and prepare for boarding teams. I am sorry, Sora replied calmly. I cannot do that. These people are under my protection. The Ravager made a sound like broken glass. It might have been laughter. Your protection? You are human. You have no weapons, no real shields, no military training. You will surrender now or be destroyed. Sora looked at the alien on her screen. In 18 months, this same Ravager commander had attacked a human research station near the Helix Nebula. He had killed 237 people, including children. The official record stated the attack was by unknown raiders. The real records were different. Negative, Sora said quietly. We will not surrender. The Ravager commander stopped smiling. Then you will die. All humans are weak. You will learn what happens to species that refuse the horde. The transmission ended. Captain, Minho reported. All 4 Ravager ships are moving to attack positions. They will be in weapons range in 3 minutes. Sora activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for combat operations. Repeat, prepare for combat operations. Throughout the ship, things began to change. Civilian passengers felt their transport pods lock into battle-ready positions. The artificial gravity adjusted to combat settings. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically. To the passengers, it looked like standard emergency procedures. They had no idea what their transport ship really was. Engineering report, Sora ordered. All systems are online, Captain. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum. Engines ready for combat maneuvering. Tactical? Minho worked at his station with smooth efficiency. Target acquisition complete. All enemy vessels locked. Weapons solutions calculated and verified. Communications? All channels clear, Captain. Emergency beacon is active. Sora took her place in the captain's chair. Around her, the bridge hummed with quiet activity. Her crew moved like they had done this 1,000 times before. They had. Captain, Minho said. Enemy ships are firing. 4 streams of energy lanced across space toward the Peaceful Dawn. The Ravagers were using standard plasma cannons. Effective against civilian ships. Deadly to anyone without proper defenses. Defensive systems activate, Sora ordered. The transport ship's hull began to change. Panels slid away to reveal weapon ports that should not exist on a civilian vessel. Energy shields flared to life with power levels that violated known physics. The ship's reactor signature spiked to readings that should have been impossible. The Ravager weapons hit the shields and scattered harmlessly. Return fire, Sora said calmly. Beams of coherent energy erupted from the Peaceful Dawn. They moved faster than Ravager sensors could track. They hit with force that turned armor into vapor. The first Ravager scout exploded immediately. The second lost its engine section and began spinning helplessly. The third tried to flee, but another beam caught it amidships. The fourth managed to fire one more shot before it too became expanding debris. The battle lasted 17 seconds. All targets destroyed, Minho reported. No damage to our vessel, Sra nodded. Resume evacuation operations. And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Ravagers have found us. Yes, Captain. As debris from the Ravager ships drifted past the viewing screen, Sora allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. For 50 years, humanity had pretended to be helpless. They had built ships that looked like simple transports. They had trained crews to act like civilian personnel. But under the civilian appearance, every human ship carried weapons that no species in the galaxy could match. Every human crew had training that turned them into perfect warriors. Every human vessel was a predator pretending to be prey. The Ravagers wanted to hunt humans. They thought they were attacking defenseless refugees. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral Choi Tae-min stood in the command center of the battleship Seoul's Pride. Around him, hundreds of officers worked at their stations. The ship was massive, 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that officially did not exist. Until yesterday, Seoul's Pride had been hidden in an asteroid field near the edge of human space. Now it led a fleet of 200 warships toward the main Ravager invasion force. "Admiral, we have long-range contact with the enemy fleet," reported Captain Nam Ha-young, his tactical officer. "Estimated 12,000 vessels. They are moving in standard horde formation." Tae-min nodded. He had studied Ravager tactics for 30 years. He knew their formations better than they did. "Time to engagement?" 4 hours at current speed, sir. Signal the fleet. All ships are to maintain deception protocols until we reach optimal range." "Yes, sir." Tae-min walked to the main display screen. It showed the tactical situation across this entire sector of space. Red dots marked Ravager positions. Blue dots showed human forces. Green dots represented allied worlds that needed protection. For the first time in 50 years, the blue dots were not hiding. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Lee Dong-woo, "we are receiving transmission from Earth Command. Put it through." President Lee Ji-woo appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, Tae-min could see the underground command center that had been built beneath Seoul. Few people knew it existed. "Admiral Choi, what is the status of Operation Garden?" "Phase 1 is complete, Madam President. All deception assets are in position. Human colonies have been secured. We are ready to begin Phase 2. The Council, still unaware of our true capabilities. Ambassador Kang is maintaining diplomatic contact. They believe we are conducting evacuation operations only." President Lee nodded. "Very well. You are authorized to proceed with Phase 2. Show them what we really are." "Understood, Madam President." Seoul's Pride out. The transmission ended. Tae-min turned back to his crew. Every officer on the bridge had enhanced genetics. Everyone had been trained since childhood for this moment. They looked like normal humans. They were anything but normal. "All stations, this is the Admiral. We are now entering active combat operations. All crew members are authorized to release enhancement protocols." Around the bridge, subtle changes began to happen. Officers moved faster. Their reaction times improved. Neural implants activated. Genetic modifications that had been suppressed began to function normally. Within minutes, the crew was operating at levels that would have seemed impossible to outside observers. "Contact the fleet," Tae-min ordered. "All ships are to begin Phase 2 activation." Across the human fleet, similar changes were happening. Warships that had looked like large transport vessels began to show their true nature. Armor plating extended. Weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments. Shield generators powered up to levels that broke known physics. "Admiral, we have incoming communication from the Ravager fleet," Lee Dong-woo reported. "Put it on main screen." A Ravager war chief appeared. He was larger than the scouts they had fought earlier. Scars covered his face and arms. His eyes glowed with artificial enhancement. "Human fleet, I am War Chief Graxoth of the Ravager Horde. You will surrender immediately. Your species is weak. Your ships are few. You cannot stand against the might of the Horde." Tae-min stepped forward. He wore the simple blue uniform of the human space service. No decorations, no signs of rank that aliens would recognize as important. "This is Admiral Choi Tae-min of the Human Defense Force. You are in violation of Galactic Council law. Withdraw from human space immediately." Graxoth made the sound Ravagers used for laughter. "Human Defense Force? Your species has no military. You have civilian ships and scared colonists. We have taken your measure. You are prey." "You are mistaken," Tae-min said quietly. "I think not. We have fought your kind before. Always you run. Always you hide. Today you die." The transmission ended. "Admiral," Captain Nam reported, "enemy fleet is accelerating to attack speed. They will be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Signal all ships. Drop deception protocols. Assume combat formation." What happened next would have amazed any observer who understood starship design. The human fleet transformed. Ships that had looked like transports revealed themselves as heavy cruisers. Vessels that seemed to be cargo haulers extended weapon arrays that belonged on battleships. The Soul's pride itself underwent the most dramatic change. Additional hull sections extended from its core. Massive gun turrets emerged from concealment. Its reactor output increased by 400%. Fleet status? Taman asked. All ships report ready for combat, sir. Full weapons charge. Maximum shield power. Enhanced crews are operating at peak efficiency. Enemy response? The Ravagers are maintaining course and speed, sir. They appear to believe this is some kind of deception. Taman almost smiled. The Ravagers had fought humans before, but they had only fought the humans that humanity wanted them to see. Colonists with basic weapons, transport crews with minimal training, researchers who ran instead of fighting. They had never faced what humanity really was when it stopped pretending. Admiral, enemy fleet entering weapons range, Nam reported. All ships. This is Admiral Choi. You are authorized to engage. Show them what 50 years of preparation can accomplish. The human fleet opened fire. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Human weapons fired at speeds that Ravager sensors could not track. Energy beams that should have been impossible to generate lanced across space. Missiles that ignored known physics struck with precision that seemed supernatural. The first wave of Ravager ships simply vanished, turned to expanding clouds of superheated gas by weapons they never saw coming. Enemy fleet attempting to scatter, Nam reported. They are breaking formation. Pursue and engage. Do not let any escape. The human ships moved with coordination that seemed telepathic. They anticipated Ravager movements perfectly. They countered every tactic. They showed no mercy. Across space, Ravager communication channels filled with panic and confusion. Impossible weapons. They move too fast. How can humans do this? It's not possible. They're just humans. But it was possible. Humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. They had modified their genetics, enhanced their reflexes, improved their intelligence, built weapons that pushed the boundaries of known science, all while pretending to be simple, peaceful explorers. In 43 minutes, the Ravager invasion fleet was destroyed. 12,000 ships reduced to debris. Not one human vessel was seriously damaged. Admiral, Lee Dongwu called. We are receiving communications from multiple sources. Galactic Council emergency channels, news networks, other species military frequencies. Whoa, what are they saying? They want to know what just happened, sir. They want to know how humans destroyed an entire Ravager fleet. Taman looked at the tactical display. Where 12,000 red dots had been, there was now empty space. The Ravager threat to human colonies was ended, but the real challenge was just beginning. For 50 years, humanity had hidden what they were. Now the secret was out. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in its 300-year history. Every species had sent their highest representatives. The main chamber was packed beyond capacity. Security guards from a dozen different worlds stood at attention along the walls. Ambassador Kang Dae-ho walked slowly to the center of the speaking platform. Behind him floated a holographic display showing the debris field where the Ravager invasion fleet had been destroyed. 12,000 ships reduced to scrap metal in less than 1 hour. The silence in the chamber was complete. Even species that communicated through sound, light, or smell remained perfectly still. Honored delegates, Dae-ho began. I know you have questions. Questions. The Vorthak ambassador's metal face showed disbelief. Your species just destroyed the largest Ravager fleet in recorded history. In 43 minutes, without losing a single vessel. We do not have questions, Ambassador Kang. We have demands for explanation. Murmurs of agreement came from around the chamber. The Goliath delegates' massive fists were clenched. The Netherian representatives' usual soft glow had become harsh and bright. Even peaceful species like the Heralds were showing signs of agitation. The human military performance exceeded all known parameters, stated the mechanical voice of the Construct Collective. This suggests either hidden technological development or deliberate deception regarding human capabilities. Dae-ho nodded slowly. Both assumptions are correct. The chamber erupted in noise. Dozens of species began talking, singing, or flashing lights at once. Speaker Veltaran's skin shifted through angry color patterns as he called for order. Silence. Ambassador Kang will explain these statements. Dae-ho activated his personal display device. A series of holographic documents appeared around him. Star charts, technical specifications, Historical records, all marked with classification levels that made several delegates lean forward in surprise. 317 years ago, Deho said, before humanity achieved faster than light travel, our deep space monitoring stations detected evidence of the Ravager horde. The first hologram showed an ancient human space station. Its design was primitive compared to current technology, but the massive sensor arrays were clearly visible. We learned that aggressive species dominated this galaxy. We discovered that peaceful civilizations were regularly destroyed or enslaved. We realized that if humanity entered space unprepared, we would share their fate. So you developed weapons in secret, accused the Vorthak ambassador. No, Deho replied. We developed humanity in secret. The next hologram appeared. It showed a human genetic sequence, but parts of it glowed with enhancement markers that should not have existed. We made a choice as a species. Every human who left Earth would be part of a planned evolution. Enhanced genetics, improved reflexes, increased intelligence, neural interfaces for tactical coordination, cybernetic implants for enhanced performance. The chamber was dead silent now. Several delegates were recording everything. Your children, whispered the Netherian representative. You modified your own children. Every generation, Deho confirmed. For over 2 centuries. Each improvement built on the last. Each enhancement made us more capable of surviving in a hostile galaxy. A new hologram showed human colonies throughout space. But now the delegates could see the truth. Training facilities hidden underground, manufacturing plants disguised as civilian factories, military academies that looked like normal schools. The humans we allowed you to meet were real, Deho continued. But they were also selected and trained. Every diplomat, every trader, every researcher you encountered was part of a vast preparation program. But why the deception? Asked the Goliath delegate. Why not reveal your true capabilities? Because revealing them too early would have made us a threat instead of an ally. The galaxy needed to see us as helpful but harmless, junior partners who could be trusted because we were weak. The final hologram showed the battle that had just ended, but now it displayed detailed analysis of human weapons, ship designs, and tactical coordination. Our weapons technology is approximately 400 years ahead of current galactic standards, Deho explained. Our ships are built with materials and power sources that most species cannot produce. Our crews operate with coordination levels that seem impossible because they are linked through neural networks. How is this possible? The Construct Collective's mechanical voice showed something like wonder. Our projections indicated that human development should require millennia to reach such levels. Because you were projecting normal development, Deho replied. We chose accelerated evolution. We transformed our entire species into something designed specifically for survival in this galaxy. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Colonel Bei Jin-Woo walked forward. He wore a simple human military uniform. He looked perfectly normal until he moved. Then delegates could see the inhuman grace, the perfect balance, the reflexes that were too fast for natural biology. My name is Colonel Bei Jin-Woo, Human Strategic Forces, he said. I volunteered for genetic modification when I was 5 years old. My parents volunteered me before I was born. He activated his own holographic display. It showed a human child in what looked like a normal school, but the training equipment was military grade. The other children moved with coordination that belonged on battlefields. We grew up knowing what we would become, Jinwoo continued. Warriors, protectors, weapons disguised as people. Every human you have met was trained from childhood to be capable of violence you cannot imagine, and trained equally well to hide that capability. The human colonies, said the Vorthak ambassador slowly. Your research stations, your trading posts. All were military preparations disguised as civilian activities, Deho confirmed. New Busan has underground bunkers that can shelter 5 million people and manufacturing facilities that can produce warships. Haven Colony looks like a farming community. It actually houses our primary weapons research facility. Even your children? The Netherian representative's mental voice was filled with horror and fascination. Jinwoo nodded. Especially our children. They never knew what normal humans were like. To them, enhanced reflexes and tactical training are natural. They learn mathematics and combat techniques at the same time. They study history and weapon design together. A new hologram appeared. It showed human children playing what looked like simple games. But the games were actually combat simulations. The children moved with the coordination of trained soldiers. Every human child born in space has been optimized for survival, Jinwoo explained. Enhanced immune systems, improved bone density, neural implants installed before their first birthday. They are designed to be better than baseline humanity in every way that matters for warfare. But they seem so normal, protested the Goliath delegate. That was the point, Daeho said. We needed the galaxy to underestimate us, so we taught our people to act normal, to seem harmless, to let other species treat us as junior partners while we prepared for the day when pretending would no longer be necessary. And that day is today, stated Speaker Veltaran. Yes, Daeho replied. The Ravager threat forced us to reveal ourselves. But this was always temporary. We always knew that eventually the galaxy would see what humanity really is. Which is what exactly? Asked the Vorthak ambassador. Daeho and Jinwoo exchanged glances. When Daeho spoke again, his voice was quiet but carried clearly through the chamber. We are a species that looked at the darkness between the stars and chose to become something that darkness would fear. We are predators who pretended to be prey. We are the result of 2 centuries of directed evolution toward a single goal. What goal? Whispered the Netherian representative. Survival, Daeho said simply. No matter what the cost, the chamber fell silent again. Every delegate was processing what they had learned. Humanity was not what they had thought. The species they had treated as helpful newcomers were actually the most dangerous predators in known space, and they had been living among them for 50 years, hiding in plain sight. Fleet Admiral No Seo-jun stood on the bridge of the command ship Eternal Dawn as it dropped out of hyperspace. Before them stretched the Ravager home system. 7 planets orbited a dying red star. The largest planet, Ravager Prime, pulsed with the lights of billions of inhabitants. It would be the final battle of the war. Admiral, reported Captain Yu Ji-wan. His tactical officer, enemy fleet composition confirmed. 8,000 vessels in defensive positions around the planet, including their fortress stations. Any civilian evacuation attempts? Negative, sir. The Ravagers are committing everything to defense. No non-combatant vessels detected, Seo-jun nodded. That was typical Ravager behavior. They would rather die fighting than retreat. It made them dangerous enemies. It also made this battle necessary. Signal the fleet. All ships are to assume final assault positions. Around the Eternal Dawn, 300 human warships moved into formation. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Each crew was enhanced beyond normal human limits. Each captain had trained for this exact scenario. This was humanity's full military power revealed for the first time in galactic history. Admiral, incoming transmission from the planet's surface, called Communications Officer Park Young-soo. Put it on main screen. The display showed a Ravager warlord. He was ancient by Ravager standards. Scars covered every visible part of his body. His eyes burned with fanatic determination. I am Supreme Warlord Thak Guron of the Ravager Horde, he growled. You dare to bring your ships to our sacred homeworld. I am Fleet Admiral No Seo-jun of the Human Defense Force, Seo-jun replied calmly. We are here to end your threat to peaceful worlds permanently. End our threat? Thak Guron's laugh sounded like breaking bones. We are the Ravager Horde. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have destroyed civilizations that existed before your species learned to make fire. You are nothing. Pray that learn to bite back. You are correct about one thing, Seo-jun said quietly. We did learn to bite back. On the surface of Ravager Prime, Major Shin Da-yoon crouched in the shadows of an ancient temple. Around her, 50 of humanity's finest soldiers waited for the signal to begin their assault. Each soldier wore armor that made them faster and stronger than any natural creature. Each carried weapons that could punch through tank armor. They had been inserted onto the planet 3 days ago while the fleets maneuvered in space. Their mission was simple: disable the planetary defense grid from the inside while the fleet attacked from outside. Team leaders, report status, Daeho whispered into her communication device. Team Alpha in position, came the reply from Sergeant Kim. Bora. Defense grid station 1 is identified and marked. Team Beta ready, reported Corporal Lee Jae-sung. Station 2 is under observation. Team Gamma standing by, said Sergeant Oh Min-jung. Station 3 is accessible. Da-eun checked her tactical display. The three main defense control centers were spread across the planet's largest city. Each one was heavily guarded by Ravager warriors. Under normal circumstances, 50 soldiers could never hope to assault such targets. But these were not normal soldiers, and this was not a normal assault. All teams begin Phase 1, Daun ordered. What happened next would have amazed any military observer. The human soldiers moved through Ravager defenses like ghosts. Their enhanced reflexes let them dodge weapons fire that should have been impossible to avoid. Their improved strength allowed them to break through barriers that should have stopped them cold. They fought with perfect coordination. When one soldier engaged an enemy, another was already moving to provide support. When obstacles appeared, solutions were implemented before commanders could even give orders. Team Alpha reached their target first. The defense grid station was a massive structure built into the side of a mountain. Hundreds of Ravager guards protected its approaches. Sergeant Kim Bo-Ra led her team in what looked like a frontal assault. The Ravagers opened fire with everything they had: plasma weapons, explosive shells, energy beams that could melt steel. None of it mattered. The human soldiers moved too fast. They anticipated every defensive measure. They struck with precision that seemed supernatural. In 8 minutes, the first defense station was silent. Station 1 is down, Bo-Ra reported. No human casualties. Team Beta's assault was even faster. They struck during a shift change when the guards were distracted. Corporal Lee Jae-sung and his soldiers appeared from 3 directions at once. The Ravager defenders never had time to organize a response. Station 2 is eliminated, Jae-sung reported. Defense grid showing critical failures. Team Gamma had the hardest target. Defense Station 3 was built underground with multiple layers of protection. Sergeant Oh Min-jung led her soldiers through maintenance tunnels that were barely large enough for humans to crawl through. They emerged in the center of the control complex like creatures from a nightmare. The Ravager technicians and guards had no warning. No chance to resist. No time to send alarm signals. Station 3 is secured, Min-jung reported. Planetary defenses are completely offline. In space, Fleet Admiral Seo Jun watched as the massive energy shields around Ravager Prime flickered and died. All stations report grid failure, Captain Yu announced. The planet is defenseless. Signal all ships. Begin final assault. The human fleet opened fire with weapons that had been designed specifically for this moment, not just to destroy ships or stations, but to end the Ravager threat forever. The orbital defense platforms vanished in brilliant explosions. The remaining Ravager fleet tried desperately to protect their homeworld. They fought with the fury of a species facing extinction. It was not enough. Human weapons fired with mathematical precision. Every shot found its target. Every target was destroyed with minimum energy expenditure. The battle was not driven by anger or hatred. It was driven by cold, perfect efficiency. On the planet's surface, Major Shin Da-eun watched the orbital battle through her helmet display. Streams of light crossed the sky as human ships eliminated the last of Ravager resistance. All teams begin Phase 2, she ordered. Phase 2 was the occupation of key planetary facilities, government centers, communication hubs, military command posts. The human soldiers moved through the Ravager capital city with unstoppable determination. They encountered desperate resistance. Ravager civilians had joined their military in a final attempt to defend their home. Children barely old enough to hold weapons fired at the advancing humans. It made no difference. The human soldiers had been designed for exactly this situation. They moved through enemy fire without slowing. They neutralized threats without hesitation. They showed mercy to those who surrendered, and swift death to those who continued fighting. By the time the orbital battle ended, Ravager Prime was under complete human control. Admiral, Captain Yu reported, all enemy resistance has ceased. The planet is secured. Seo Jun looked at the tactical display. Where 8,000 Ravager ships had defended their homeworld, only debris remained. The threat that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was ended, but as he watched the lights of Ravager cities going dark one by one, Seo Jun felt no satisfaction. Only the cold certainty that humanity had done what was necessary. They had become something that could end threats like the Ravagers permanently. The question now was what the galaxy would do with that knowledge. 1 year had passed since the destruction of the Ravager horde. The Galactic Council chambers looked the same, but everything else had changed. Ambassador Kang Dae-ho sat in his usual place at the curved table. The difference was that now other delegates approached him with careful respect instead of casual friendship. The council will now hear the request from the Helix Federation, announced Speaker Veltarin. His color patterns showed nervous formality. The Helix delegate rose slowly. He was a small, peaceful creature whose species had never developed weapons more advanced than farming tools. Honored Council, the delegate began. The Helix Federation formally requests human protection for our trade routes. Pirate attacks have increased since the Ravager defeat. We cannot defend ourselves. Deho nodded politely. Earth will consider your request. We will send patrol ships to your sectors within 1 month. Thank you, Ambassador Kang. The Federation is grateful for human assistance. The word hung in the air. Not partnership. Not cooperation. Assistance from a superior species to an inferior one. That was how things worked now. Next item, Veltarin called. The Vorthak Empire wishes to discuss technology sharing agreements. The Vorthak ambassador stood. His metal face was carefully neutral. A year ago, he had spoken to humans as equals. Now he chose his words with the care of someone addressing a dangerous predator. The Empire requests access to human defensive technologies, he said. In exchange, we offer full access to our manufacturing capabilities and rare mineral reserves. Deho considered the offer. Human defensive shields were generations ahead of anything the Vorthak could produce, but sharing that technology would change the balance of power across the galaxy. We will provide Level 3 defensive systems, Deho replied. In exchange for mining rights in the Kronos sector and manufacturing contracts for civilian vessels. Level 3? The Vorthak ambassador tried to hide his disappointment. We had hoped for more advanced systems. Level 3 shields are still 50 years ahead of your current technology, Deho said calmly. They will protect you from any known weapons except human ones. The Vorthak ambassador nodded quickly. Of course. The Empire accepts these terms. Across the galaxy, Captain Kim Sora commanded a patrol fleet in what had once been lawless space. Her ships moved through sectors where pirates and raiders had operated for decades. Now those same criminals fled at the first sign of human vessels. Captain, reported her tactical officer, we have detected an unauthorized weapons platform in the Nexus system. It appears to be targeting civilian shipping. Pirate station? Most likely, Captain. The platform is heavily armed but shows no identification signals. Sora checked her orders. Human patrol fleets had simple instructions for dealing with criminal activity. Stop it completely. Show no mercy to those who threatened peaceful trade. Signal the platform. Tell them to surrender and prepare for inspection. No response, Captain. They are powering weapons. Destroy it. The engagement lasted 12 seconds. When it was over, the pirate platform was expanding debris. Any criminal ships in the area received a simple message. Human space was now peaceful space. Anyone who disturbed that peace would be eliminated. On the peaceful colony world of Sanctuary, Dr. Han Soo-jin worked in her new laboratory. The facility looked like a normal research center, but representatives from dozens of species came here seeking something that could change their civilizations forever. Today's visitor was a Netherian scientist named Vel Maureen. Her species had natural telepathic abilities, but they were limited and unreliable. She wanted more. Dr. Han, Vel Maureen said with her mind voice, my government has approved our request. We wish to begin the enhancement process for our military personnel. Soo-jin reviewed the files on her desk. The Netherians were offering massive amounts of rare crystals in exchange for basic genetic modifications. Improved reflexes, enhanced intelligence, limited cybernetic implants. The modifications you are requesting will change your people permanently, Soo-jin warned. Enhanced individuals cannot reproduce with baseline Netherians. You will be creating a separate subspecies. We understand the risks, but we also understand necessity. The galaxy has become more dangerous since humans revealed their true nature. We need to become stronger to survive. Soo-jin nodded. It was the same conversation she had with representatives from dozens of species. All of them wanted what humanity had achieved. Enhanced biology, superior technology, the ability to project power across interstellar distances. We can provide Level 1 enhancements, Soo-jin said. Basic genetic optimization and neural interface compatibility. More advanced modifications require longer negotiations. Level 1 will be acceptable for now, Vel Maureen replied. When do we begin? Next month. Send 50 volunteers to our facility on Luna Station. We will have the first enhanced Netherians ready within 6 months. As Velmorin left, Sujin made notes in her personal log. Another species choosing to follow humanity's path. Another civilization deciding that survival required transformation. In 30 years, the galaxy would be filled with enhanced beings trying to match what humans had achieved in 2 centuries. On Education Station Harmony, young Park Soo-young sat in her classroom listening to her teacher explain galactic history. She was 7 years old with the enhanced genetics that all spaceborne humans possessed. Her reflexes were 3 times faster than baseline human normal. Her intelligence had been optimized before birth. To her, these abilities were completely normal. "Can anyone tell me why the Ravager War ended so quickly?" asked teacher Velnara, a gentle Netherian who ran the multi-species school. A Goliath child raised his massive hand. "Because humans are really strong?" "That is part of it," Velnara agreed. "But there was more to it than just strength." Soo-young raised her hand. "Because humans planned for a really long time?" "Yes, very good. Humans spent over 200 years preparing for threats like the Ravagers." Another student, a young Vorthak with silvery skin, asked quietly, "Teacher, why do the other kids seem scared of the human students?" Velnara paused. This was always the difficult moment in these discussions. How to explain to children that some of their classmates belonged to a species that had transformed itself into something beyond normal biological limits. "Human children are different," she said carefully. "They have been given special abilities to help them survive in dangerous situations. This makes them very capable, but it also makes other children feel nervous around them." "But we are not dangerous," Soo-young protested. "We just want to play and learn like everyone else." "Of course you do," Velnara replied gently. "But sometimes being very capable makes others worry about what you might do with those capabilities." After class, Soo-young walked with her friend Kex Tola, a young helix who barely reached her shoulder. They had been friends since they started school together 2 years ago. "Soo-young," Kex Tola asked, "are you really different from us?" Soo-young thought about the question. She could move faster than any of her non-human friends. She could solve problems that challenged students twice her age. She had begun tactical training that taught her things most adults would never learn, but to her it was all normal. "I guess I am different," she said finally, "but I do not feel different. This is just how humans are." "Does that make you better than us?" Soo-young considered this carefully. Her enhanced mind could process the question from multiple angles. She understood that her abilities gave her advantages that her friends would never possess. "I think it makes me different, not better," she said. "Humans needed to become this way to survive. But that does not mean we are more important than other people." That evening, as Soo-young did her homework, she thought about her conversation with Kex Tola. She was beginning to understand why other children sometimes looked at her strangely, why their parents spoke to her with careful politeness instead of warmth. She belonged to a species that had looked at the dangers of the galaxy and chosen to become something that those dangers would fear. Every human child born in space carried modifications that made them superior to baseline biology in almost every way. But they were still children who wanted friends and fun and normal lives. As she finished her studies, Soo-young made a decision. She would work to show other species that enhanced humans were not threats to be feared. They were people who happened to possess unusual capabilities. Maybe someday, the galaxy would see them as protectors instead of predators. But for now, she was content to be a 7-year-old girl who could solve advanced mathematics problems and had reflexes that could catch thrown objects without looking. It was just her normal. From his office on Earth, Ambassador Kang Dae-ho reviewed reports from across human space. Peaceful trade was expanding. Criminal activity had dropped to almost nothing in sectors under human protection. Other species were requesting enhancement technologies and defensive agreements. Humanity had revealed its true nature to the galaxy. The question now was what kind of future they would build with the power they had hidden for so long. The answer would determine the fate of every civilization among the stars.